about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Dr. Dahlia Show. It's getting hot, and in many areas, I know you see some areas dealing with a lot of snow. It's interesting. I'm watching March Madness, and it's fascinating where some of the games are playing, and you can still see ice in Michigan and things like that. But in southern Nevada and Arizona, I mean, it's getting hot. And one thing that has happened that nobody's really kind of admitting to is for those of us living in desert communities, and understandably so, there was a lot of restrictions on trees and what you could plant. Now, years ago, there were actual literal bans on like olive trees and things that would really trigger pollen and allergies, which I completely agree with. But there was a not so literal, more of a discouraged type of rules that took place with new home growth and desert landscaping, where if you there were trees you couldn't choose at all. You weren't allowed to. But if you did choose certain trees and they weren't drought resilient and it cost you water, it was really prohibitive. And when Southern Nevada expanded pre-recession, and people were just buying up homes and renting them out, many landlords are like, okay, I know I have to landscape it, but it's going to be too expensive to water the plants. And we'll just, and even developers with parks and all that, they go, well, then fine, no trees. We'll bypass that. We'll put the rocks. We'll have a couple bushes. So no trees. So if you drive around older Vegas to newer Vegas, older Vegas, you have these amazing, big, beautiful trees. Newer Vegas, I mean, you could see for miles without a leaf inhibiting your view because it was almost encouraged to not use foliage because of the water. And I get that because you're in a desert and they do take a lot of water. The problem we have, and New York is having this problem, and a lot of places are having this problem, is then there's no place for shade. And if you've ever been out in the baking sun or humidity, if there's not a building nearby or a tree, you're screwed. And so now you're starting to see these community canopy initiatives where they're like, plant some trees. We need trees because people are dying of heat stroke out there. There's no shade. And I'm glad Las Vegas, Clark County is a part of that. I think they're giving away 2,300 trees, depending on your zip code. They want to identify the zip codes of those who are underserved or where homeless populations could suffer because they want to increase there to be more shade. I think New York is also, and there many Arbor Day initiatives are now starting to promote more of the trees. And there's a lot of different trees that are more, I guess, resilient in terms of pollen and stuff. Like, let me see, like drought-resistant plants. Let me see, because I think I apologize. I had a list of some of these, and unfortunately, I don't. But there's, I apologize. I had the list and now they're all gone. So what you want to do is you want to find drought tolerant. God, they were like, I know there's certain maples and things like that. So in back east, there's certain maple trees and oak trees that you could do that don't require as much water. In Vegas, I think the Palo Verde, acacia tree, there's some trees that will survive well even without a lot of water. But we're seeing, not only are people struggling not having shade, but the sidewalk, the ground is hot. It's a desert. It's a ghost town between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Once we start getting hot, because you can't walk anywhere. Your flip flops, you burn through your pets. Their padding is not good enough. And I try to put little booties on my dogs. I haven't tried it on Snort, but on the other dog, we tried. She doesn't like the booties, and so they're just indoors all day. I mean, I grew up in Phoenix. I grew up in Las Vegas and Phoenix, even though I was born in LA. And all we could do is sit home and watch TV until it was okay to go outside. Because, I mean, it would get up to like 120 degrees in the summer down in Phoenix. And so I like that there's this initiative. For those of you who are in my neck of the woods, the initiative in Clark County is called the Stay Cool Initiative. They're going to give thousands of trees, 2,300 drought-resilient trees to 12 selected zip codes. In New York, the New York Restoration Project is kicking off their free native tree sapling giveaway. That's going to start in April of 2026. High Point, North Carolina is also Lakewood, Ohio. Arbor Lodge neighborhood in Portland is also giving away some trees. And then even in Florida. So for those of you who kind of went all rock and all desert landscaping, it's a real shame because, you know, the animals, the wildlife, that's why you got to be really, really careful, by the way, when you do walk your pets. When you don't have enough shrubbery and the dogs like to go up to that one or two, I mean, that's where the snakes are. That's where snakes can go anywhere. But you have this big concentration of animals and critters just trying to find the local shade. And so we need to kind of go back to nature. And I do commend Clark County in terms of promoting and really looking at what we could do that are more drought resilient. So you could plant a tree that's not necessarily going to die, because we're only allowed to water a couple times a week, and water at night. And there's smart ways to do it, by the way. You know what I mean? If you water during the cooler time, so there's less evaporation, and at night, the plant is able to pick up the water, hold it, and then as opposed to you watering and then the water just going all over the place and evaporating and not. So you want to definitely take advantage of that. But for those of you that don't have trees or you can't spend the money on the water, really look at shades and umbrellas and things like that. There's a lot of things you could do to help cool your home, like get like an awning so that there's shade before the sun hits your window. And check your air conditioning, because a lot of us start turning our air conditioning on and then we find it's broken, and now you can't find somebody to repair it because everybody else is having that same problem. So make sure you check on that, because we don't want heat stroke this summer. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So for those of you that follow me or watch me on Facebook, if one day you don't see me, hopefully I'm still alive. But I'm having issues, it looks like, with the AI, and it's scary, the what's happening with the AI and how I have no control. And so let me kind of tell you what's going on here. And luckily, my issue isn't life or death like it could be in a medical scenario. But I got to tell you, this is kind of weird. So the issue started last week where I have a new book, The Depressed Doctor. And I will oftentimes, the first week of my book release, pay for Facebook ads. And so I bought 2 ads. Well, I didn't want to buy 2. But when I bought the first one, I wanted the ad to distribute. By the way, it's not a bad deal how they do the ads, because you could tell them your budget as little as possible or as high as possible. You tell them who you want to target. And so since I have a lot of followers in America, the UK, and India, I said to send it to the UK, that target audience. And all of a sudden, rather than just it being, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people a day, I got 200,000. It said 200,000 people got my ad. Now, something didn't seem right with that because it didn't look like that was manifesting in, they said, oh, yeah, you've had at least 50 or 60,000 clicks or whatever. And so I'm like, something might be wrong with that ad. I want to make sure. And it was only in India. They didn't necessarily hit America and the UK. So I added a second ad, and I was going to then pause the first ad, and to make sure that we also got an audience in America and UK also looking at the ad for the book. And it wouldn't let me pause. It wouldn't let me fix the ad. So I'm trying to work with it, and it was only computer. So I'm like, fine, I'll pay for 2 ads. Well, now I have a little bit of a balance. So I decide to try and pay. It won't let me pay. So I'm like, well, let me go on to Instagram because Meta owns Instagram. So what I'll do is I'll try to pay for the ad on Instagram. Then all of a sudden, I get this massive block. Again, all I'm trying to do is pay for the ad. It's supposed to charge automatically, but it wasn't charging automatically. And I like to pay my bills. Okay, I don't like to owe anybody. And then everything just gets completely disabled from that. So they say, do you need help? Yeah. They keep giving me the AI bot. And the AI bot keeps coming up. And I'm like, hi, try to pay my bill. I've added extra payments. So, I put in my American Express. I put in my Discover. Everything. I have 5 different accounts that I'm trying to pay, and it keeps rejecting it. So I just tell politely, I need help because I'm trying to pay the bill. There's sufficient funds. It's just your software keeps rejecting it. Well, then the AI says, well, we've deactivated your account. I'm like, can I speak to a person? I'd like to pay the bill. That's why it's a 3. I've only been using you guys for about 3 days. So even though I know I have till next month, I like to pay right away. They said, no, you can't even pay. Your account is disabled. Meanwhile, the software is saying pay now. So I keep hitting pay. Now says payment rejected. So I keep trying to get a human and they won't. And when I even ask the bot, I go, just trying to pay the bill. This help, thank you for your help. But now I'm being nice to AI. I was always nice. I go, we need to escalate this I could escalate it to a human. It won't. They go, sorry. Basically, your account has been disabled. So no further action is going to be taken. Well, so I don't know how to get to a person. And I'm afraid because if my wanting to do something good and pay a bill is getting me blocked, I'm almost like I don't want to wake up the sleeping giant. Now, I know some of you are like, okay, Dahlia, who cares about Facebook and, who cares? I mean, how is that life or death? It's not life or death. But where I'm coming from is Meta is one of the biggest techie companies out there. Meta is huge. They should have some of the best software, fail safes, security issues. And if I can't do something so simple to pay a little bitty bill, it's not even much, little bitty bill, and it's causing me, and I could possibly, if that's the way the software is, any second, I could just probably lose my whole Facebook account. Now, I know people are like, oh, you're exaggerating. Well, not exactly, because one of my buddies had made a joke about the high gas prices during the Biden years and made a joke about, I guess, any sugar mama. And he got blocked and completely banned. And had to, and it was just a joke. And I made that same joke. I made that same joke about gas prices. I didn't realize that happened to him. So I made a joke going, I need a sugar mama. And then I get blocked, but I didn't get blocked permanently. He did, but I didn't. And when you just, all you want to do is talk to a human, you're like, it was a joke. It was okay. So I don't now make jokes. But I can't even pay a bill. And so my worry is if this is, a social media company, then what happens if I have an issue later with a pacemaker, or an issue with if all these companies are going to AI, and you say, but you'll get a human, Dahlia, just be persistent to get a human. What if there are no humans? If these companies are using AI so they don't have to staff, there's no human. I'll even call medical offices and radiology places. And they're like, thank you, let me help you. And it's a bot. And I tell them what I need. I'm trying to set up my mammogram. What kind of a mammogram do you want? Well, I need the mammogram that doesn't necessarily include the bunions. I need a mammogram that'll just do the breast, but, one that understands that it's going to have to move a little down to get to the breast. It doesn't understand any of that. So I'm like, well, let me get a human so I can describe my breast to the human. Because I don't want to always have to be lifting up the breast, because then my hands get x-rayed in the mammogram. And you just can't. So then they'll say, okay, we'll get you somebody, just stay on the line. Nobody comes. And I had to set up, it was a different radiology place. I wanted to call to set up an MRI for somebody, and no answer for hours. So if you're having a medical issue, I mean, it sucks that the tech issue is because we don't like tech issues, but where else is AI going to be taken over? It's going to be taken over everywhere. And I was really kind of frightened, and I don't get frightened a lot. Well, spiders. Okay, I used to not be afraid of spiders. I never had any issues with spiders. I thought spiders were cool until one bit me, and the infection took up most of my leg. Then that sucked. That was scary. So now I have an apprehension around spiders. But when this happened, and then I tried again the next day, I'm thinking, well, maybe, somebody else has complained. And so they're updating their software. And they're like, sorry, we can't help you because you've been disabled. And I'm like, maybe the Americans with Disabilities Act can help me out then? Where do I go? How do I get away from the AI? And the AI is wrongly misinterpreting me wanting to pay my bill for I don't know what problem it has with me. I know people have problems with me, but in terms of, you would think in that vacuum of only one issue I was trying to deal with, there should only be one specific issue, and that's me trying to pay a bill. My guess is it had something to do with the ad going to India and it hitting 200,000 accounts. I didn't ask it to. I just said, I want UK, America, and India seeing my ad. And apparently that must have triggered the AI to get mad at me, or why does the AI have a problem with India? I don't know. But the lack of recourse, the lack of ability to get somebody to fix it, that's scary. Now, especially for somebody like me who's Gen X that is used to working with people. I have a hesitancy with computers. I know that the computer can mess up. So I don't want to work with a computer. I want to go to a human. Every time I go to a human, if there's an issue with a meal, if there's an issue with whatever, the human seems to fix it. No. Now it's blocking. I can't even get to a human. So a robot is standing in front of me. Not cool. The 1877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on Dr. Dalia's show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Okay, so I'm gonna again try to put this on Facebook. You guys are gonna like this one. This is a good. Finally, some happy news. Well, I don't know if it's happy news. Not happy for Congress, but I'm gonna for those of you that guys like to actually watch the show, I have it on Facebook Live, and I will try to add it to YouTube and others as well. So you guys could, you don't want to see me though. So what's been going on with the airports is absolutely ridiculous. And these poor TSA agents who are working without pay, I don't blame any one of them for calling out. And in fact, if they all did call out, the airports would have to close for a day. Congress would have to get their asses back to Washington, vote to fund TSA and fund the government. And then they'll be back open the next day. But some TSA agents, and God bless them, they're coming to work to help people still get to where they need to go. And we are hearing that some of these lines at security checkpoints are now over 4 hours. Well, Delta decided to make a move, where as opposed to Congress getting to cut the security line for their flights, they got to go to the back of the line. Now, that's a lot of power with Delta, but we are this is pretty good. I'm kind of happy about this one. According to Seeking Alpha, Delta Airlines is curbing special security privileges for members of Congress, limiting their ability to bypass standard airport procedures and being escorted to the front of the screening lines. Notably, airport security lines are becoming longer, less predictable. And so, according to Delta, they say, quote, due to the impact on resources from the longstanding government shutdown, Delta will temporarily suspend, way to go, specialty services to members of Congress flying Delta. Next to safety, Delta's number one priority is taking care of our people and customers, which is becoming increasingly difficult in the current environment. So this targets these long-standing arrangements that Congress people have saying, hi, yeah, I'm a congressperson. Excuse me, you need to send me through. Congress. Oh, no, get to the back of the line, baby. Back of the line. It's about time. This is, by the way, they also shouldn't get paid. I've said that time and time again. When there's a government shutdown, why the hell is Congress getting paid? No one gets paid. The shutdown things have to change, as I've said before. But back to this, because this is making me really, really happy. So the decision by Delta also follows, I guess, Senate action on legislation aimed at ending special treatment for lawmakers at airports, reflecting a broader push to align their travel experience more closely with that of ordinary passengers. So they're going to scale back on the escorts and the line skipping arrangements. So Delta is, well, now why is Delta doing this? Is it because Delta's taking a political stand? My guess is when you are an airline and you're trying to push your credit card or your first class travel or your Sky Club, one perk to these people spending that kind of dough is they get faster movement. They get to do the first class line at security. Now there's like a first class line. So you have TSA pre-check and clear. But a lot of these airports, if you have a first class ticket, they're going to let you bypass the line. I'm first class. So you need to let me pass through. Thank you. First class, everybody. First class. First class. Everyone's like, oh, screw you. Yeah, and they go. And so I'm not a Delta Sky Club member because I don't fly Delta enough. My hub is Southwest. So I use Southwest, although I'm not really a member of that either. Well, because I don't go to Reno as much as I used to. I just don't become a member of any of them because I just go for whoever has the cheaper ticket. I'll use JetBlue or United when I go to New York. I have to go to New York twice. One flight's going to be JetBlue, one flight's going to be United. So I don't pay for any of these. But for those people who do, they're paying big bucks. So this is scaring the airlines because not only are their coach passengers getting ticked, but they're really raking in good money with these travel clubs and people wanting to pay to get into their club. Like it's interesting. JetBlue has now finally a lounge, I guess, at JFK Airport. And their lounge isn't for everybody who's flying JetBlue. Not even for first class JetBlue flyers. If you're first class international, you could go into the club. If you're one of their higher up mosaics, but the average JetBlue flyer, no. If you want to, you got to pay a fee, $60, something like that. So these companies found ways to make money and pay for that expensive real estate in the airport. They're like, we'll charge you to use your clubs. Well, what's happening now? Well, now that everybody is so late, they don't have time or money to spend in the clubs. So they're no surprise that the airlines are like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Not to mention, they now have to rebook everybody's flights because everybody's late. That's why I said, guys, honestly, if Congress is not funding TSA, then that day the funding stops, the airports close. I'm telling you, Congress will think twice about screwing around, say, well, let's negotiate this and let's put masks on ICE agents and no. The airports are closed. If you want masks on ICE agents, we'll submit different legislation and then we could try and pass it. But, or you don't want masks on ICE agents or whatever is holding this up. Apparently, it has to do with ICE agents, and the Democrats want them to not wear masks. The same people that wanted everybody in masks for COVID don't want ICE agents in masks. So not a lot of consistency there, but come on. And the Democrats would feel that pressure. No. We got to keep the airports open. But politics always, unfortunately, pervades. And it's all about, well, we got the midterms. So we need to show that we made a fight. And we had to show that it looked like that the Republicans couldn't keep the government open. The Republicans signed the bill. They're like, we signed it. Let's just, we need the Democrats to do it. There's a lot of back and forth on this filibuster and all that. And see what the Democrats did, which wasn't very, shall we say, advantageous, is they already showed their cards. The Democrats want to make D.C. its own state. They keep saying they want to pack the Supreme Court. And so then the Republicans are like, well, we're not going to end the filibuster because then you're just going to, once you're in office, just go and try to pass all this stuff. Not to mention now the citizens are like, okay, wait a second. So that means whoever is the majority is going to just keep adding people to tilt it. And then it's going to affect, how future elections are. And so they should have been quiet about it until they were back in power and then say, well, we want to do this. But unfortunately, now everybody knows what the plan is. Remember, everybody was talking about this Project 2026 with Trump, where Trump had all this plan or whatever. Well, I guess there's this unwritten plan that the Democrats have. But it's not written because it's already said. It's already been all over. Well, this is what we need to do when we get in. This is what we need to do. And so now, here we are. I mean, in order to fund the government, you need Democrats and Republicans to agree, which actually I agree on. I don't want just one party rule. I want there to be, bipartisanship. I think Democrats and Republicans should want TSA agents to get paid. They should want our national security, to be covered. They should want the legal immigration system kept whole and safe. And somebody bypassing that legal immigration system has to go to the back of the line. And I mean, just like with the DMV, you're in the DMV for hours. Somebody decides to take cuts. What do? Well, you tell somebody that person took cuts. What does the DMV do? They say, sorry, you got to go to the back of the line. You got to take a number. All these other people took numbers. You got to take a number too. You can't take cuts. And if they have a problem with it, then security escorts them out. But if they don't have a problem with it, they go and they take a number, and then they're back in line. I mean, there's always a process. But, honestly, the airlines are getting kind of ticked because they want Congress to feel what non-Congress people feel, which I think is a smart move. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide. And tragically, tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, for those of us watching the news, where an 18-year-old Loyola University student was out with friends and gets shot and killed by an illegal immigrant or undocumented Venezuelan national. I guess they don't call them illegal immigrants anymore. They're undocumented Venezuelan nationals who had a history of an arrest back in 2023 and was released. There's been, rather than just unanimous shock and everybody being on the same page, how this shouldn't have happened. She was a college freshman. She was with a group of friends. She was not walking alone. She was walking to the pier at Toby Prince Beach, something a lot of the kids do. They were trying to catch the northern lights. She's in Chicago. And so it's not like they were out there partying and whatever. It was, that's what young college students do. And I've encouraged my sons to, if they could ever see the northern lights, to do so. Jose Medina of Venezuela comes up to the group, fires a gun, and kills her. He was arrested the day after on these charges, including first-degree murder charge. They used facial recognition software to compare the images of surveillance footage to U.S. Customs and Border Protection records. And he did have an arrest warrant back in 2023 because he shoplifted but stopped appearing in court. He's an undocumented Venezuelan national, should have never been released. And DHS has now announced an ICE has lodged an arrest detainer. They do not want state officials to release him back to the public because apparently that's what the officials in Illinois have done before. And instead of seeing a unanimous outpouring, you have a Democratic alderwoman in Chicago, Maria Haddon, who basically almost starts to provide a defense for the alleged killer, saying that the 18-year-old victim was, quote, in the wrong place at the wrong time and may have, quote, unintentionally startled the suspect. Meaning, here's the victim blaming. Meaning it was her fault that he randomly came up to them and killed her. Now, I'm really shocked by a woman saying this, and I know I shouldn't stereotype women, but for those of us women who, have ourselves been, told by our moms and aunts and grandmas, don't wear short skirts, don't do this, okay, you're going to become a target, and we've warned our daughters, all right, turtlenecks, long, just don't be a target. God forbid any of these girls get attacked or raped. All right. We went from years of, well, you wore this or you did this to stopping that and understanding that if somebody raped you, it was because the rapist had mental illness. You should be able to wear, a perfectly, very common outfit. I mean, we don't want you walking around in a thong and naked, but still, that shouldn't make the average person turn into a criminal. Now, I mean, if the average man saw you walk naked down the street, or half naked, I mean, he might approach you and proposition you and say, would you like to come to my house? But it shouldn't make an average healthy man decide to jump you if that person has mental illness. And they, but it's the suspect's fault. And we, over the last few decades, have learned to stop victim blaming. Where, well, you were just looking too attractive. You shouldn't have looked attractive. No, because rapists will attack unattractive people too. So that whole thing kind of, I thought we were done with the whole victim blaming. So to hear a woman talk about another woman where she might have unintentionally startled the person, making him decide to go from being a shoplifter to a murderer, what murder one? That is insane. Now, Alderwoman Haddon, I guess, was in an interview with Fox 32 Chicago saying this, etc. But what bothers me is she's not the only one that's already trying to find ways to reconcile this so they don't have to agree with Republicans on how we have dangerous people in our cities. And when Governor Pritzker says, oh, yeah, it's safe, I could walk here, it's safe. Okay, you're a big man. And she wasn't walking alone. And she was, because a lot of people go, well, you shouldn't have gotten drunk. You shouldn't have been walking alone. She was 18, most likely was not drinking, and was with her friends in a group going to a public place. It's not that they were hanging out in a back alley, putting themselves at higher risk. And even if she was in a back alley, yes, still, if she was murdered by somebody, everybody should be condemning that. But instead, you are unintentionally startling the murderer. So what? We're supposed to stay at home? So murderers, whether they're legal or illegal, don't get startled? That doesn't make sense. And so I guess Chicago's a sanctuary city. They have this Trust Act, which limits local law enforcement's cooperation with federal immigration officials. You see, again, the city or the state should get sued. ABC 7 chief legal analyst Gil Sulfer said the debate over Illinois' Trust Act prohibits state and local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officials, is now causing another flashpoint between federal immigration goals and the state's welcoming policy towards migrants. Listen, I'm a daughter of an immigrant. Again, my father, my grandparents went through the legal process. When you're welcoming migrants and immigrants, I understand why you think that's a nice thing to do, but you're screwing over the people who came here legally. You're also not vetting them. Are you vetting them? Plus, this guy, the suspect, is being quarantined for tuberculosis. And I told you, I'm seeing tuberculosis on the rise because we allow tuberculosis to come across the border unvetted. When we go through the legal immigration process, you have to go through medical screens. And many of these individuals did not get medically screened. The Democrats were really adamant and really demanding over everybody getting COVID shots and being COVID vaccinated for you to walk into a hospital or to go to school. Yet they let illegal immigrants come in without a COVID vaccine. So who I thought you were really worried about COVID here. And so I find this very, very frustrating. And, if I was advising Democrats and I was a Democratic strategist, you could very easily do the John Fetterman thing where, you might disagree with some of the Republican policies, but you agree that illegal immigrants that are criminals shouldn't be here. And that anybody that violated the legal immigration process has to go to the back of the line. You could say that. But if it's all about the votes, well, we need these people to vote, and we need to be able to get these people to vote and not have voter ID and all that. If it's all about, the thing is the Democrats will win the presidency again, but they have to have good policy. They could very easily, on good policy, look at Zohran Mamdani. Now, I don't think his policy was good, but that policy appealed to people. Now, I don't think he had to cheat. I think New Yorkers are like, this sucks. We're not advancing. The rich are getting richer. Let's see what socialism does for us. Now they're going to see that it sucks, but the Democrats don't have to worry about not getting elected. They'll get elected. They don't have to though. Support murderers. 1-877-DOC-LA.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.